I want to start off by saying this is a great rework. They pulled it off, a new archetype. The GMs got changed this week. We have adepts, they're out. A long-range heavy burst frame hand cannon. Fires a 2-round burst at 257 RPM, pretty cool. It's got some spicy combinations for PvP, and for PvE, some niche things. There's been a lot of hype around this thing before it's released, so really, what is going on here? Is Warden's Law good, or do we want Warden's Law to be good? There's a big difference, and I've seen enough personally. There are some positives about it, but I think that the negatives really outweigh it. It's fun, it's okay, but I don't think that it's too good. I don't. And I'm going to show you some things in this review that you can't unsee, you can't unhear, so sorry in advance. Because when you break it down fully, I'm going to show you what we actually have here. If you like it, great. If you don't, I think I'm getting ready to show you why you don't. It looks like it's more catered to the Crucible, so that's what I want to talk about first. Base stat-wise, it's its own sub-archetype. And let's remember the mid-range shakeup. As I go through it, it kind of explains why I'm just not feeling this thing. It was an aggressive hand cannon changed to a heavy burst, so in that change, it dropped archetypes. With this change, aggressive hand cannons hit at 40.5 meters now, at 100 range. This is now thrown into 180s, 140s, the other hand cannons, and they cap out at 37.5 meters at 100 range. Keep in mind, auto rifles got that big bump to 39.5. Pulse rifles are at 40 at 100 range. And I'm just going to start off with it, why I'm just not on board. In that range, auto rifles, 140 hand cannons, pulse rifles, Warden's Law has a .93 TTK. But here's the kicker about that. Take away the gun model, add in what it's doing, this burst. And we're going to talk about that burst more in a moment. What Warden's Law mimics is an adaptive frame pulse rifle, but kind of worse. So if anyone's saying Warden's Law is cracked, they better get hyped about Jorm's Claw when it comes back in Iron Banner. Because these adaptive 390s shoot 3 bullets. The end result, both of them have a .93 TTK, but pulse rifles, inherently a little bit more accurate within their range. They hit a little bit further. They chain a little bit better. Sorry, not sorry. Basically, we have a solid-off adaptive pulse rifle. Like the damage profiles, the overall, like what you're doing with it, usage, mimics that. It lines up with that. And then I see some things. Oh, kill clip, it rips. And before I got this review out, I wanted the 2 main perks to show you. I didn't get them, but that doesn't matter, and I'm gonna tell you why. It doesn't matter because when you get kill clip on it, it's a 2 burst, right? It rips. It's so good. That's a .56 TTK on this thing. And with rounding, it airs more to .57, but like .56, that's great. But back to the real world. Anything in Destiny 2 that 2 taps or 2 bursts rips. Round Robin has kill clip, it can 2 tap, that's a .5 TTK, it's actually faster. An adaptive pulse rifle like Jorm's Claw, or with Golden Tricorn, or with Radiant added, or added kill clip, it's a .53 to a .6 TTK. And at base, high impact pulse rifles are a .67, .6 with kill clip, like I can go on. The point is, yes, they all rip, they're all good. A 2 burst or a 2 shot is going to be fast. So if you think Warden's Law is just cracked with kill clip, I can't wait for you to try Jorm's Claw with kill clip. The hype train is going to be off the charts. If you're hyped about kill clips on this thing, you better be hyped about the next adaptive pulse with kill clip. You better be. They have the same TTKs, but the pulse rifle hits a little bit further. So let's get into that burst. Some things you need to know and some things that you need to do. It's a very deceiving thing. First of all, it does feel really cool to shoot. Like, it flows. And when I say it feels great to shoot, not necessarily aiming with it and tracking with it, just the animation feels cool. When you slow it down, realize a couple things come up. Number 1, you see these outer lines of the reticle. That is the accuracy of the weapon. You shoot, it blooms out, it comes back in, it resets. You keep shooting, it stays there. Firing back to back to back. It just stays out. And we look at the hipfire reticle, that X, the accuracy cone, is pretty much literally after the first burst at max bloom. So this isn't hipfire when you're aimed down sights, it's clamped. It's not this bad. But the main thing to kind of show is that it goes from its most accurate form it ever can be on that first shot immediately to the most inaccurate form it could ever possibly be. As you're shooting its max bloom, those 2 bullets are fighting the accuracy and aim assist cone to land. And you compare it to round robin or other 140s, takes a little bit of ramp up to get to that max bloom. Second, what goes with that? What you visually see on the weapon is a good indication of what's going on. We saw the accuracy part, the bloom part, again, not a great representation because in ADS it is clamped, but it's still getting max bloom after 1 shot. Mine's 93 range, 39 stability at Snapshot Rampage. I can get to 100 range with 22 stability. This shot with 39 stability, look where these 2 bullets are. And this is fairly close, right? Like, imagine this burst pattern shooting a target, like, I don't know, around here. That's a big gap. That's a lot of shots missed. So it doesn't feel like stability matters when you shoot it, but it does. You combine the spread with the accuracy that I showed you, and you can start kind of seeing why it might feel a little bit off to you. Big spread, no matter the stability. So what that means is you have to be very diligent, probably the most diligent you've been in a very long time in Destiny 2, to group them. Each burst, you have to apply down pressure to make those shots group better. Since it has a burst, you have to track a little bit longer and do this to make that group tight. It can be done actually pretty easily. You just have to be mindful, but you must do this. There's no way around it. You have to do it with Warden's Law. And it isn't a traditional hand cannon. It's similar to Crimson, right? In Warden's Law, just like Crimson, it doesn't peak shot too well because it has that burst. This is the same kind of thing. It has some trouble peak shooting. So we have a burst. We have a big spread on that burst that you need to group manually. We have the range that it's in, capping at that, 38 meter range on a high one. Again, mine's 93 range, can get to 100 for a 0.93 TTK. I just simply can't get behind that because in that range, use a 140, use a pulse rifle, many other things. And yes, all of those can get kill clip, all of those can get Zen moment, because when you look at the perks, you're kind of pushed to a couple things, like for the Crucible. In the third column, Perpetual Motion, Moving Target, 4 times a Charm, Snapshot, Enlightened Action, Discord. Perpetual Motion's great. You want stability on it. You want reload. Moving Target's great. It helps with dueling. It has really good aim assist at 68 for what it is. That's upping that. Enlightened Action's actually pretty goated on it because it's a 2 burst, like doubling up on your hits, so that means your reload, your handling, all that's going to be better. And pretty much after a duel, it's going to be at max stacks. In the fourth column, Vorpal Weapon, Zen Moment, Rampage, Kill Clip, Frenzy, Shot Swap, you're kind of really pushed to Zen Moment or Kill Clip. And with what I went over, its range, its TTK, how it works, what you're doing with it, the shooting experience, it does really push you to Zen Moment or Kill Clip. And again, these are the 2 perks that I just wanted to use and show, but I don't need them. I don't. Because we know what's going on. We know what they bring. Kill Clip is a 2 burst. It makes this thing very lethal. That makes it immediately a go-to perk in that 4th column. But as I've shown you and talked about, that doesn't get me excited because multiple things 2 burst or 2 shot with the same damage perks to match the TTKs, or in a lot of cases, 90% of them, a faster one. And they do it a lot more comfortably. So yeah, that's why I'm not on board with that. Zen Moment though, that is elite. 2 shots come out in a burst, causing damage. You get flinch resist, less reticle bounce when firing, reduces overall recoil, that's visual and actual. It stacks to 5 times, so just like Enlightened Action, it's ramping up quickly. It makes sense. So it's turning it into a dueling weapon. So it's kind of weird because what Zen Moment's doing, because it is kind of clunky with its burst grouping, the accuracy and all that, what it's actually doing is just helping you land your shots. You're like, yeah, it feels great with Zen Moment, but at that point, you're dueling in the mid-range with a 0.93. High-range 140s, with or without Zen Moment, or Kill Clip, they just do it a lot more comfortably. Lots of pulse rifles with Zen, Kill Clip, Golden Tricorn, and that's why I just can't get behind it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, because, again, there's a lot of tracking that goes on for a 0.93, a lot of recoil adjustments. It doesn't make sense to me, compared to everything else. Now, for you, that's something you need to figure out yourself. As a hand cannon that shoots 2 shots, it's a heavy burst. What it does have going for it, since it is a hand cannon, it flinches very well. That can and does keep you in gunfights. It flinches your enemy harshly. You combine that with what you're kind of pushed to, Zen Moment or Kill Clip, that's why it can perform really well. Actually, scratch that. That's how it's punching outside of its weight class. I'll put it that way. Now, PvE-wise, we have Vorpal, we have 4th time, we have Discord, Rampage, Frenzy. And before it came out, before we got it into our hands, everyone kind of thought about Lucky Pants. It hits heavy. Since it's a 2 burst, it's going to ramp up. The niche thing is Lucky Pants, and it's kind of worth it. I wouldn't necessarily say a must-have, and I won't say that because it's 1 weapon on 1 subclass with 1 exotic. A very focused thing. I mean, we have Unstoppable right now. Ramping up on an Unstoppable champion with Lucky Pants on this thing, pretty cool. But the more I used it, kind of saw what's going on, compared it to what's in that mid-range as far as PvP, their perks, how their life's living, I'm off the Warden's Law train. And I think that once Igneous Hammer comes back out of hibernation, this thing's going to see little usage. Nothing against Warden. Again, they pulled it off. It's fun to shoot. It can be deadly. You can win duels. You can have great games with them. It can feel nice to you, but not nice to another. And that's what's really cool about Destiny. But when I put it all together, where it's trying to live its life, what all is going on into this shooting experience, I can't do it. I won't do it. Not worth it. It is an RNG drop. We do have double drops, so that's a good thing this week. When it comes to the barrel mag, masterwork, and adept mod, it depends on what you're going for. We talked about the perks, I think, when it comes to PvE, Rampage, Frenzy, or Vorpal, PvP, Zen Moment or Kill Clip, and in that third column, multiple things do work, such as Perpetual Motion, Enlightened Action, Snapshot even. Mine has Snapshot Rampage. Since it's a 2-burst in PvE, 4 times a charm. Now, you do want to get the range up because it isn't an aggressive hand cannon. It caps it at 38.5. It starts with pretty high range. You get it to 80 fairly easily. So that's a good start, but you also need some stability. And it's kind of odd because since it is a burst, your stability stat has a direct correlation with how much you're going to have to pull down on the shot. My 22 stability one, it works and it can work great, but I have to pull down a lot more. So I would actually focus on range first and fill out your stability opposed to the other way around. Because if you have high stability, to make it duel a little bit better, you're starting to compensate your range. So it's kind of a weird dance that you're playing with, but I would go range first on this thing so it can keep up with other weapons, especially being a 0.93 base TTK. That goes with your adept mod as well. Comes with 97 recoil. You don't have to mess with that. PvP is accurized, tac mag, flared magwell, appended mag, possibly extended, or alloy mag. A lot of you are trying this thing out. And again, what's nice about Destiny, something may feel great to you, not great to you, but from what I've seen, since it does follow that burst pattern, like immediately, like when I shot it with controller, I was like, man, MK players might not like this thing, even before I kind of dug into it. So MK players, tell me what you think about it. Controller players, you have it a little bit easier. But with that said, you're going to have to control the recoil grouping a little bit more with a lot more down pressure. It can be done. It's fine. But I'll end where I kind of started with. I don't think that it's too good. I don't. We have some niche PvE things, and if you enjoy it, go right ahead. But there is a relationship with its TTK, its range, to the adaptive frame pulse rifles. And when I saw that and then brought some of those out, I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. But that's just me. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Warden's Law. Is it good, or do we want it to be good? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.